In this video, I speedran one of the biggest mod packs of all time in under 25 hours. Watch as I work my way through countless tech, magic, and exploration mods in order to craft the All the Mods star in world record time. If you find this video entertaining, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content in the future. Now let's get into it. Welcome to All the Mods 9. With over 400 different mods, we sure have a lot on our plate here. Here's a list of a few mods we need to complete, and one of those isn't even real, so let me know which. I want to preface that this was a very long run, so feel free to keep an eye on the top left timer as there may be a lot of cuts. This run took almost 25 hours, so in order to prepare you for it, let's go over some of the objectives I had for the run. Let's split it up into 3 different categories. Milestones, such as all the modium, tasks, such as swapping mobs, then all the pieces of the star. I'll try to go over all the mods for the star, but here's just a few of them we need to complete. So let's get right into it. First things first, let's find an area for a base. This looks like a good enough area. First thing to make is a crafting table and a stick. This is basically a portable crafting table. Then make a few boats. Combine those boats together. Select your preferred style. I like the cavern style. Find a nice little spot. And plop! You now have a starter base. Jealous? I don't know. It's my base. Be sure to set home and start looting the place. We got food, we got armor, we got wool. Sorry, Sail. Head downstairs and you may find a stack of iron. Make some starter tools out of that. Then let's break down this smelting setup. This is modded, we don't need vanilla smelters. Grab a hidden block of gold and coal under the ladders. And now we can create our own smelting setup. Make some tanks out of some mini backpacks. And now that the smelter is all set up, we can cook some of that food. And we can use that wool from earlier to make some mob swabs. These are pretty cool. We can swab some mobs and then make spawn eggs out of them later. So we'll be swabbing those along the way. Get some clay smelting for some botany pots. And that wood is just too convenient to pass up. But we still need a floor. Now we can make our botany pots. These will grow some trees and carrots and whatnot for us while we go and explore. Then a little speed racer action to a nearby cave. Grab some resources. Swab this little guy. He's a little lost. Swab this man, even though he's not on the list. And then what is that I hear? It's the Deep Dark. The Deep Dark is actually great, because that is where we'll find our first pieces of all the modium. But more on that later. Swab a creeper. Then back off into the mines, which we yearn for. Let's keep an eye out for some redstone and diamonds for the most part. Fun fact, you can actually get resources from the Ortises. Just hit them with a pickaxe. And then get jumped.
Does this man have a hat? What are you? I've never seen you before.
Not even close. But we'll leave him down there for a minute. Alright, your minute's up.
Oh god. Man's got the combo. He's got the sword and the pickaxe.
Huh?
Cake. Oh my, you're not cake. What's this?
The Mimic dropped a little flame pendant. That's kind of cute. Not very useful, but nice to have. And just around the corner, there's a little loot chest. It had 4 ender pearls in it, which is kind of crazy. But that's enough mining for now. We'll head back to the surface. Swab a squid. I'm now going to use some of the flowers I've been finding, and we'll use them to create a Botania pickaxe. You see, normally to mine all the modium, you need a netherite level pickaxe, but it just so happens that the Botania pickaxe can do the same thing. Also be sure to grab some Enderman DNA. Unfortunately, this Deep Dark didn't seem to have any all the modium, and after getting annoyed by being rooted by a necromancer, I decided to head back to spawn, only to find a little bug.
Hello? Or not? What? What happened? Oh, I'm a ghost. The real me's right here. Oh my gosh, I've broken the game. Hey, let me pause. I'm gonna relog. Hello? What is this?
So that was interesting. Anyways, my items were randomly in this mountain over here.
Here I am. Wait, I got humanoid flesh. Wait, that's actually huge. This was meant to be.
This item's actually a hard to get component for one of the star pieces, so this was a big find. I turned some of my rotten flesh into leather so that way I can make a backpack, and then upgrade it a few times. Then I make a nature's compass so that way I can find another deep dark, which also happened to be right next to my base. And at the entrance, there happened to be a boss witch.
Oh my, it's a boss witch. Yeah, and there's a warden trying to spawn. I didn't bring Tiger out food.
Fearing for my life, I decided to box myself in the loot room. Unfortunately, the chests didn't have any good loot. But quickly after that, I saw an opportunity to escape. Only to be jump scared again. So I just trap in a cage that I was going to use for a warden, and then get Freddy Fazbeared by a mimic.
Oh my frick! That's not good. That's not good. Oh.
Luckily, I am a professional. And after a couple minutes of exploring, I go to this area.
Why are there zombies? Ow. Okay. I'm done. I'm done. Why are there so many? Oh my, this is why I'm hot. I'm hot because I fly because I'm hot. This warden's gonna shoot me. He's gonna shoot me.
Wasn't even worried. And then finally, I found what I came for.
There it is. Hurry up. Get off of me. Fine.
I see some nearby chests to loot real quick, and then I head back.
Yeah. Scream all you want. Yeah. Hello?
Now that we got some Aldemodium, we can make a portal to the mining dimension. But before we head over, let's complete a few things first. We're gonna need some basic power generation, and a tier 1 jetpack. Now we make a quick trip to the nether, grab some quartz, silk touch a blaze spawner with the bronze pickaxe we made, and then proceed to nearly burn down the base.
The boat's not looking too good.
After a quick word with Smokey the Bear, let's use the second Aldemodium ingot to make some X-ray potions, and now we can pack up the base and head over to the mining dimension. You will be missed, Bohome. It's not personal, just business. Now that we're in the mining dimension, we got some work to do. First up, let's get some fortune. Make a couple vengeance pickaxes, and then steal the fortune right off of them. Toss out those curses, combine those fortunes together, and toss it on our pickaxe. Realize that you didn't put your potions into a charm yet. And now let's go mining for some more Aldemodium. Alright, that should be good enough for now. Time to head back up. Craft up an Aldemodium pickaxe, and move the fortune over. Let's also craft up an auto smelt book, and pop that on. Now let's head back down and do some mining. We're gonna need a lot more power than a wind generator, so while we're down here, let's look for some resources to make a reactor. Now let's get mining. Before I can make the reactor, we gotta get some uranium first. Technically, I could see some on the roof here, but we should head a little higher to get some. Alright, take a look at the timer. Let's just see how long it takes me to find some uranium.
Oh my gosh, it's real. I found it.
Guys, that was 11 minutes, and that's not even counting all the mining I did before. So yeah, just get luckier. Anyways, let's get a reactor set up now. To make a reactor, you're going to need the following. Lots of casing, a controller, an energy tap, an access port, some fuel rods, some control rods, and optionally a coolant. I went with copper, which is not a good idea. Turns out that copper oxidizes and then breaks your reactor. It took a while for it to be an issue, so it never mattered. Anyways, now that we got a power supply, I'm gonna make a quick trip to the nether, as I forgot I need a gas tear still. And don't forget to swap them for our collection. Now we can make a fortune quarry card, and toss that bad boy into a builder, and now we have a quarry. This will mine the world to our heart's content. And with great supplies comes great storage, so let's get an ME system set up. So let's make a controller, some disk drives, and a crafting grid to access our items. We're also going to need a little bit of storage, and a 16K disk should be enough for a little bit. Now, if you've ever played a mod pack before, you know that this thing's amazing, and it's just so satisfying to put all your items in it. I'd also like to share this moment with you, where I jump in a hole without my jetpack.
Oh god. No jetpack.
My friends were laughing at me in the Discord call.
Rip the levels.
Well, now that our quarry is going, we can freely head over to the other. This is like the mine dimension, but for the nether version. It spawns you underground, is super dark, and I hate it. Anyways, we're mostly here for one thing, and that is a structure that spawns here. Now, I don't really know the rules about this. You see, in this dimension, it says flight is disabled. But it really isn't. If you just spam your jetpack on and off, you can just fly. Now, you can call this a bug or an exploit or whatever, but I'll let you experience, although sped up, how long it took me just to get to the structure doing this. So yeah, that was a full 4 minutes of jetpack speed to get here. So do with that information what you will. There's a couple blocks of netherite at the top here, but the real stuff is down below. So let's head down. Now if you listen very carefully, you might hear a million mobs that are pissed. So after breaking through the basically obsidian level stone, I finally make my way in. The chests here have a bunch of enchants and weapons, but what I'm here for is really the spawners. Unfortunately, I quickly realized that I am no match for this area yet. But that's okay, because I don't need it yet. Also, don't forget to get distracted and mine some obsidian for funsies. Back at the base, I make an ender gate. This will basically spawn waves of endermen, and we'll drop a bunch of their loot table after the wave is done. Like, just listen to how many items I get on the last wave. So yeah, I have a few ender pearls now. And with those, we can finally create some waystones. Now I don't have to juggle my home around everywhere. Now let's repeat that process with the slime gateway. This one's kind of cool because it spawns different types of slimes. Like one of them just does like 20 hits a second when touching you, and that's fun. So you technically don't have to kill the smallest slimes for it to be over, and since I didn't have any AoE, I decided to just leave them around for a little bit. But eventually they found me, which means the children had to die. Anyways, we need some slime balls for some more ME storage. So first I'm gonna make a couple crafters. And these freaking slimes keep pushing me around. Is this what parents feel like? Anyways, we can now get some auto crafting going. So I make a bunch of different patterns and throw them in the crafter. I then make a set of diamond armor. That way we can head back to the dungeon in the other and not instantly take 1,000,000 damage. So now it's time to head back over and get some of those spawners. In this mod pack, you can actually modify spawners. You can change how many spawn, how often they spawn, and other stuff like that. But just like my mom calls me, these spawners are very special. You see, the spawners here are actually above the cap that you can make on your own. So by stealing these spawners and changing what spawns in them, we've effectively got the best spawners in the game. Now you may notice something interesting going on. You see, this dungeon spawns so many mobs that it actually lags the game. The game got so laggy to the point where it just didn't even matter. I could just run around and grab the spawners. So I did just that. I also went around looting the chests. I basically just won all the enchant books, as well as a bunch of weapons and armor with custom attributes. And there are quite a few chests in this dungeon. So after filling up my backpack a good amount, I set up a waystone, grab some of those bookshelves, and then head back. Now let's spend a quick moment going through some of that loot. There's a couple pieces of armor that aren't bad, so I'll put those on. Next up, let's head over to the stronghold. Then let's head over to the end. Alright, we're now in the end. Time to get the speedrun over with. This dragon stands no chance. Alright, we're out. Let's go fight the dragon, and psych! Just kidding. Now we have something more important than the dragon. On the End Islands, we're gonna look for some unobtainium. This is basically the ultimodium of the end. And yes, there is vibranium in the nether. And no, I did not need it yet. I decided to use the unobtainium for some entangled blocks, which aren't really needed, but I like them for their convenience. It basically just makes it easier to hook up the quarry storage to the ME system. You can also use it for other stuff to hook up as well. But spoilers, I don't. Anyways, with that all set up, let's move on to the next mod. By setting up a crafter next to an energizer orb, we can automate some power crafting. And while that's going, let's get some weather data models going, because I also need some nether stars real quick. We're going to need a bunch of these so that we can generate more nether stars, because you need about 100,000 to make the star. Anyways, we can use this box now for a mob grinder. The vector plates will push them into the grinder, and then this backpack will pick up all their loot. Now you just place the spawners in, and then realize you gotta go kill the dragon to actually get them to work. Anyways, these mob spawners are the wrong mobs anyways. So let's use those DNA swabs we got before to make some spawn eggs. Combine the swabs with some XP and a seed. Then feed it to a chicken to get this. Don't worry, I swear the chicken's okay. It despawned. That one too. Anyways, it only took me 30 minutes to head over to the dragon, which we're gonna have to kill twice to get the data model. OMG, stop the time! Just kidding, we're not even close. Now we can activate some of our spawners, as we're gonna need some of these drops soon. Next up on the list is to make some speed augments, and then we take those and craft a time in a bottle. This will start storing time that we can later use on machines to speed them up. But now that we got a couple models under our belt, it's time to make a couple simulation chambers. Feed in some prediction matrices, or matrices, I don't know. Then we can start using our models. And let me tell you, we're gonna have a lot of models. Mostly withers, because of how many frickin' nether stars you need. I'm sure that won't become an issue in the future. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Anyways, I made some thermo generators from the Power mod, and under them you'll see some soul lava. That basically just speeds up the production rate of these things dramatically. You can get some soul lava from the other dimension. But now that our power supply is no longer abysmal, we can start setting up some machines that use a lot of it, such as Mechanism. Now some people love this mod, some people hate it. I like it, it's pretty good, but it definitely has a steep learning curve. Anyways, it's all set up now with the auto crafters, so we don't have to worry about much of that. I'm now setting up a bunch more power generation, as we are going to need a lot of power soon. But a lot of that power right now is going to waste, so let's make some storage for it. To do that, we can do some mechanism shenanigans. Basically, you need some lithium dust, and to get lithium dust, you need some liquid lithium, and to get liquid lithium, you need to get some brine, and to get some brine, you need to set up these thermal evaporation plants. Like I said, steep learning curve, but I love it. Anyways, now that those bad boys are cooking up some lithium for us, we can head over and work on some other things. Our mob spawner could use a few upgrades, so let's make some looting swords, and then let's steal the looting off those swords, because those swords suck. Then we can convert some of those looting books into looting upgrades. And since we can't use cables everywhere, let's work on some wireless power. Smash some redstone into bedrock with some obsidian, and you get some flux dust, and we can use that for wireless flux networks. I also go ahead and set up a quarry in the overworld, as there's a few ores that don't spawn in the mining dimension. And now that we got a good supply of lithium, we can convert it into dust, and then we can use that dust to make some batteries as storage. Now if you've played some mod packs, this may look like a lot of energy, but honestly it's nowhere near enough for how much I'm gonna need. Then after 8.5 hours of playing straight, I decided, maybe I should go to bed. So I did. And that was the last time I logged onto that world. Just kidding. I got on the next morning because I have no life. Anyways, getting right back into it, let's make an infinity wand, as we're going to be placing a lot of dirt. Next up on the list is the mystical agriculture farm. Basically place a couple rows of dirt, and add a harvester on each layer. Now we gotta craft up some of those seeds. Connect some routers to the pedestals, and you've got some automatic seeds. Or at least semi-automatic. You just gotta place the correct recipes in each router. This thing's great because manually crafting seeds is just awful. We can use some fertilizer to speed up the growth of our crops. Then we can throw in a bunch of different seeds. We got some elemental seeds, which we can use for infusing later. We also crafted up some nature seeds. Let's use some expensive fertilizer to grow those fast. That way we can make some lily pads. Then some dye seeds, because you need dye for like everything in this mod pack. And now that we got all those components, we can start making some lily pads of fertility. So let's head below the farm to make a little water container, and then we can fill those up with our lily pads. But first we're going to need some water. And now we can place our lily pads. These things are awesome. They speed up the growth of all the crops above them, and they also stack. Now we just gotta add some storage for our pylons, and watch them go to work. Now it's time to craft a bunch of different seeds. I also needed some squid and fish seeds, which means you gotta go kill them. And now that we got all those seeds in there, we can move on to the next task. I also got some night vision goggles from a quest reward, so now we've got permanent night vision. Let's craft up a dimensional card. This will let us access the ME system from anywhere, in any dimension. We've also got some conduits now, thanks to those seeds, and those will keep our spawners going no matter where we are. I reforged my axe so that way it does percentage of health damage. So let's head back to the other to find some epic generation of this structure. It normally spawns on the surface, so this is pretty cool. Anyways, we're going to need that axe enchantment because these things have 10,000 HP. So let's make a quick model for them and then get killing. With those out of the way, we can now start generating their loot and move on to the next task. We're going to need some silk touch, so let's make a brass hoe. Then let's head over to the deep dark to get some stuff to milk the warden. Yeah, you heard me. We about to milk some wardens. We just need a couple shriekers as well as some catalysts. And don't forget the most important part, the mommy milker himself. But before we get to that, we're going to need to craft up a few things first. Let's set up some automatic crafting for some industrial foregoing. We're also going to need some pink slime from the mob spawner. And then a ton of unobtainium. And what's better than milking one warden? Milking 5 wardens. Now I guess you're owed a little bit of an explanation. See, we can actually extract souls from these wardens, and then use those souls to speed up our stuff. So if we hook it up to our generators, we can make a bunch of power. Although unfortunately in my version this is a bit nerfed. It doesn't work on stuff like these anymore, and they also reduce the speed up a bunch. But I digress. We're gonna need to do some Botania in a little bit. So before we do that, let's actually set up some mana generation to fill up some mana pools. Next up on the list is to make a reactor from Mekanism, and this is the kind of reactor that will blow up. So let's go searching for a dimension to put this in. There's a couple of these blue skies portals that are around the map. Unfortunately, I need the one that's blue and not these ones, and man, did I find a bunch of these ones. But after searching like 6 different buildings, I finally found it. Although it might not look like it, this dimension is actually permanently daytime, which is perfect for one of the machines that needs it to be daytime. So let's just make a big platform. That way we can toss the reactor on top of it. Then we can set up a waypoint and head back, because we still need to get all the stuff for it. Now may I introduce you to the wonderful process of creating fissile fuel for our reactor. First up is just to make some oxygen and hydrogen. Then we can use a chemical oxidizer and turn some sulfur into sulfur dioxide. After crushing up some uranium, we can make some uranium cakes. Then oxidize those into some uranium oxide. Combine up some oxygen with some sulfur dioxide to make sulfur trioxide. Then combine that with some water vapor to make some sulfuric acid. Use that acid on some fluoride to make hydrofluoric acid. Then combine that hydrofluoric acid with that uranium oxide, and you get some uranium hexafluoride. Take that uranium hexafluoride and dump it into an isotopic centrifuge. And guess what? You got fissile fuel! Wasn't that fun? I can't see how anyone would not have fun with this mod. Anyways, now that we got that fuel going, let's make the reactor. At this point, we have most of the basic generation of stuff set up, so we just need to go through each different mod that we're going to need to complete the star. Alright, our reactor is all set up, and now it's time to get it fueled. This will make some nuclear waste, and we're going to need a lot of it. We can use that for some polonium and plutonium, and we'll use those for a couple different things. With that set up, let's head over to the end, and let's make some bees. With those caught, we can throw them inside an advanced beehive to automatically get their drops. Now that the reactor has been running for a little bit, let's use some of those drops to make an SPS machine. This thing's going to make antimatter from our extra polonium. But to make antimatter, you need a lot of power. And to make the star, of course we need lots of antimatter. So setting up the reactor as early as possible is definitely the play. Realizing that I have nowhere near enough power yet, I decided to get a couple more generators. Hopefully that's enough power for now, and we can go work on something else. Next mod on the list is Extreme Reactors. To complete this mod, we're going to need a couple reactors and a couple machines. We'll have two different reactors that are going to take two different fuels, which means both reactors are going to produce different outputs. To get our inputs, we're going to need some plutonium, and we get that by recycling some cyanide. And that plutonium is going to be one of our reactants, so we can toss that in the reactor. We can then combine some of that plutonium with some uranium to get some veridarium, and then we can throw that in the other reactor to get our second output. Now let's let those run for a little bit and move on to the next mod. Welcome to Blood Magic. It's as painful as it looks. Basically, we're just going to need to fill up this pool with as much blood as possible, and then we can use that blood to craft different items. This mod just takes a while because you need to use a lot of health. Luckily, we have some miniature hearts that'll heal us up quick. After you progress a little bit in the mod, we can get to a different dimension. This dimension is basically just a dungeon, with each different room having its own little gimmick. Unfortunately, you need a key to go through every door. Here we're just looking for a little bit of tau fruit so that way we can progress in the mod. The plant's a little weird. In order to grow it, you're going to need a mob on top of it. Then it will damage the mob in order to progress. We can turn those into some weak blood shards in order to upgrade our altar. Then it's back to the grind. Now we can upgrade our dungeon to the tier 2. This is pretty much the same thing, but it has unlimited rooms. In this dungeon, we're looking for a rare room that spawns. You'll know you find it when you see the keyhole is a different color. Unfortunately, there's two different rooms, and one of them has the key. Now that we got the other key, we can head back to the first room we found. Now we just gotta search through some of the chests in this area. These will contain some Hellforge parts, and we'll need enough of those to craft some items we'll use for the star. And don't forget to pick up some Demonite we'll need for some crafting. Now that we got enough Hellforge parts, we can upgrade our altar for the last time. And now that the altar's at max level, we're going to need a lot of blood in order to make the last item. And that'll finish up blood magic, so now let's move on to Botania. Luckily we have a lot of mana stored up from earlier. We'll use a bunch of that to make some runes. And then we can use those to make a plate. Toss a couple items on the plate and we can make some Terra Steel. And if we make 4 ingots, we can actually turn those into some seeds. And then we don't have to make Terra Steel anymore. With the seeds planted, let's now make an Elven Gateway. Now we can just toss some items in here in order to upgrade them. It was then at this point that I realized my wardens got loose. We can't be having that. Back to Milking. With our upgraded items, we can now make some better runes. And with these runes, we can now make a better plate. With this plate, we can make some elf steel. And with that, we can create the pillars in order to make the boss arena. So let's fight that boss. And now that the boss is dead, we got some Gaia Spirits. And we can use those to actually make a tier 2 boss. But first you gotta drink some water from this horn in order to get the boss to drop the right items. This boss can be pretty annoying with how long its immunity phase lasts. This boss drops a bunch of different runes, but it also drops some rune tablets, which is what we're going to need. But before we get to it, we got to make a couple more runes first. And by a couple, I mean quite a few. But with them all done, we can head over to a little ritual I made, place in that last rune, and then we can start the ritual. This will give us the star component for Botania, that being Minoir, or Mjolnir, or however you say it. Noir! Yeah, something like that. But with Botania out of the way, we can now move on to the next mod. Or at least for a second. This is a Cataclysm mod, so I just decided to grab this guy. But, you know, you get distracted. Move on to the next one. This one's Forbidden in Arcanus. And this one's just basically a fancy crafting table. It just needs a lot of different inputs in order to craft stuff. But by placing all these pillars, we can add one of the inputs. We'll also need some blood, so I decided to go back to the grinder and get some. As well as need to extract some souls from some soul sand. We can then use that to upgrade our altar to a next tier. That way we can craft some components for the star. Luckily the time in the bottle works on this thing, otherwise this would take forever. Because we're going to need a couple of these. But with those out of the way, let's move back onto the reactors. There should be a bit of output from the reactors by now, so we should be able to use those to make the piece for the star. Just gotta upgrade a few ingots, and then we'll put them all together. With the reactors mod done, I was starting to feel a little tired, so before heading to bed, I decided to start some Warden Milking. Because we can't let the wardens have all the fun. Then it's off to bed. And after getting some nice needed rest, it's time to hop right back into it. I noticed that I'm pretty far behind on nether stars, so let's boost those up. Then we got a couple more Cataclysm bosses to find. And a couple other mobs we'll need along the way. And who doesn't love a little ocean cleanup? We're also going to need one of these meteors from Applied Energistics too. And now that we got all our mobs, we can just crush them up. And yes, this does work on bosses too. With the Cataclysm bosses dead, we can craft up the forge, and then we can make the Void Hammer, which we'll use for the star, as well as some hearts we'll need for the star as well. And now that the wither's been milked sufficiently, we can use some of that ether gas to make a wither builder. We can trade with a villager for some evil craft items, and use those to upgrade our humanoid flesh from earlier. So with a couple mods done, let's craft some of those pieces of the star. Now that we got 3 big pieces of the star done, let's prep a little Ars magic. And then head over to make some machines for Immersive Engineering. You just need these machines for a few steps. But once you get the items from them, you can craft a railgun, another piece of the star. Back to Ars Magic, we can summon this bad boy. Then we can use his drop to craft another little section for the star. And now it's time for the space race. First up, we gotta head over to the moon. Then we just gotta mine up a little bit of dash ore. And we can use that to make the next tier rocket. And with this rocket, we can head over to Mars, where we just gotta mine up some Astra ore, which we'll use to make our tier 3 rocket. That way we can take a nice little trip to Venus. The planet's a little toasty, but we're just here to get a little bit of calorite. We can then use that to make a jet suit, another piece of the star. And now we can head over into the Twilight Forest. We got a couple bosses to kill. First up is He Who Shall Not Be Named. This guy's definitely gotten someone banned. But with that dead, we can head over to the Lich. You just gotta hit this man's balls right back into him. At least until all of his shields break. Then feel free to pound him down. Then make your way over to a nice little labyrinth, where we gotta beat up this little mushroom guy. Then you just gotta eat this man's meat. Yeah, you heard me. Slurp up his meat stroganoff. And with that in your belly, you can head over to Hydra, where you can decide whose head game is better. I'll give you a hint. It's mine. Anyways, now that that's dead, we can head over to the chambers.
Yo, he's trying to nuke me.
We need to kill a couple of the locals for their drops. And then find our way into the Phantom Chambers. I don't know what the point of this fight is, but we have to do it nonetheless. And after finishing off these guys, we can head over to the Ergast. This thing moans so loud. But with that dead, let's move on to the snow biome. You can find a nice little Yeti in this cave. Look at the schmoves. I don't think you actually have to kill this man, but I did anyways. Then finally, we can make it over to the Snow Queen. Touch her with my tip. My Q-tip, that is. Then we just need a pounder for her head. Also be sure to put down your favorite trophy. And after spawning in a few Snow Queens, we can complete that part of the star. There's also a couple bits that just take some basic resources, like a rainbow furnace, and an ender generator. We'll also need to combine a few supplies to make some Tyrian steel. And we're also going to need a sword from Mystical Agriculture. Make sure it's got the Mystical Enlightenment enchant. Then you just got to kill a nice little wither, and you'll get some dust. Throw that dust on some pedestals, and we can get an awakened block. Use those for an awakened furnace, and that's another ingredient for a star piece. And with all those, we can make another major piece of the star. We'll need to head to the nether to grab a little bit of vibranium. Use that to make some unobtainium vibranium blocks. Now we gotta do some enchanting shenanigans. Basically, we're just gonna need a bunch of higher tiered bookshelves. And to do that, you basically gotta make some, and then enchant them, and then use those to make some new ones, and then enchant the new ones. Yeah, it's a process. But eventually you're able to enchant some Dragon's Breath. And with those, you can make the highest tier shelves. So once you got your final enchantment set up, you can start infusing some cores, and you'll need 3 of them for the star. You can use each core to make a little portal statue. We'll use them to craft the world seed later, but that takes a lot of compressed items that we don't have right now. So let's make some other stuff in the meantime. We'll need to make 2 awakened unobtainium vibranium alloy blocks. Try saying that 10 times fast. Then we'll need a singularity, so all you gotta do is just pump a bunch of water into this thing, and make sure to give it a 64k component. Craft up a quantum ring. Then we can do some create shenanigans. Basically, you just gotta have this thing poke an item with 3 different items, and do that about 5 times. And you get about an 80% chance of it working. And guess what? It didn't work the first time. So just do that again until it actually works. But we can use that to make a mechanical arm. And then we can grab our singularity. Use some of the antimatter we've been building up. We'll need to make an end exchanger, a max tier player transmitter, and combine all those up to make another big piece of the star. Let's check in on those bees from earlier, and we can use those to make another star piece ingredient. Now we can dabble with a little occultism. This mod's kind of cool. You can eat some fruit to kind of go into another dimension, and we'll use these resources to complete the mod. We'll also need some different colored chalks, so be sure to convert those into fire. And with those, we can make a little ritual. We should only need to do about 3 rituals. 1 to summon a little dude, and we'll just give him some endstone to crush up for us. We'll need 1 to make a wormhole, and the last one we'll need is to make a soul gem. Use some of that crushed endstone to make some purple chalk. Yeet. Awkward. But with that out of the way, we can finish up the ritual. Then we'll need to crush up some stuff. That way we can make some dragon steel. Make some compressed iron seeds for some pneumatic craft, which we'll use to make the chamber. Give it some interfaces, and then use a couple air compressors to give it some pressure. Make sure to put a safety module so they don't explode. I think only 1 machine might need it, but I put it in all of them just in case. You can trade with a villager for some micro missiles. Convert some of our holy runes from the priest to some fire runes. Combine those with an empty upgrade orb, and that's another ingredient for the star piece. We'll also need a dark rune block, and a vial of searing expulsion. Toss all that stuff we've been making into that pressure chamber, and that'll craft up another piece of the star once it gets a high enough pressure. Make a nice little generator, and fill up 2 max batteries. We'll also need a billion-sized storage part. Then combine the fruits of our labor into another piece of the star. Then I realized I forgot to pick up my soul gem earlier, so let's make another one. And we can use that to make one of the final pieces of the star. Now that we got a good chunk of the items ready, let's make the mechanical crafter in order to make the star. And for whatever reason, this was very difficult for me. Fortunately, I had some help from my friends in the Discord call.
It's the inside of the legs, I think. Okay.
Anyways, with that done, we now need to power it up. And I'm not very good with create, so don't judge me. But of course, we gotta make the Patrick Star first. So let's see how many attempts it takes me to make that. Eventually I figured out what I was doing wrong.
There we go.
And now's where the fun begins. We are way behind on nether stars, so let's speed that up. We're gonna need a lot more simulation chambers, and we might as well boost those with some souls. Then we're gonna need to complete a few more wither models. And let's also fill in what we've done so far. Let's also craft up that dimensional seed from before. And now all we have left is the nether stars. We need a total of 98,000, so we're a bit behind, and we could definitely be making more. So let's get some more wither models. And we'll also need more simulation chambers. And now the nether stars are going up a little bit faster. But I got nothing else to do, so let's do another method. We can make some inactive nether stars, and craft up this bad boy. And we can use some of that antimatter we've been making to convert those into real stars. First we gotta grab that antimatter. There's still a little left in the machine that makes the antimatter pellets, so you can use this little dropper tool to grab it. Unfortunately, I had no idea how this thing actually worked, and I may have gotten rid of all my antimatter. Keep in mind that I've been playing for like the whole day, and it's late.
Did I just clear it? Did I just clear? Noted.
Anyways, we can now use that to make our nether stars. So I decided to place as many as I could at this point. Now at this point in the run, I'm extremely exhausted, so I may not sound very excited.
3 more to go. Let's make one. Yay.
But now we're in the home stretch and just need those last few nether stars. Until things took a little bit of an unfortunate turn.
Lose power? What's going on? My stars! No. No, it bugged out. It did the bug. No, that's just messed up. Wait, oh! It's back.
And then as I'm watching it, of course it breaks again.
What happened? Why did it stop? Hello? Maybe this is out of power. Maybe this is power. No, please. No, please.
But luckily it started working again.
Oh, what is going on? What am I looking at? My storage is out of whack. Oh, this one's good. Go, go, go! Go, 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 go! Go, go, go! Imagine you crafted it. It's going! It's going! Stop the count! We did it! Time! 24:42:02. Hi! We got below a day in game time. Let's go!
And that's all the mods 9 completed in just under 25 hours. 24 if you count the in-game time. Of course, don't forget the fireworks. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see me speedrun any other packs. Or even just this pack again. I know I could definitely shave a few hours off. It's taken me a long time to edit this video, so there has been a few updates to the mod pack since. I do have the whole run streamed on YouTube, but it's just mostly me in a call with friends. So if I did want to make it public, I'd have to get rid of the audio. I'll try to make sure the next one isn't like that. Shout out to all my friends that hung out in the Discord call with me. Thanks for keeping me company. Also shout out to Alfred GG. He's the only person I could see that actually tried to do this run, and I took a lot of inspiration from his run. But that about wraps it up, so thanks for watching.